remembered in retrospect, told from their points of view and what I could surmise from my own vantage point. Sometimes I had to imagine their conversations, their multitude of voices clamoring to be heard, with all of their local color and multilingualism. Whenever possible, I cross-referenced these stories against the written record, but often the written record itself had to be approached skeptically, especially when 19th century anti-Chinese bias was outright blinding, a real lesson in reading against the grain. The deeper that I delved into this rich, loamy terroir, the more I realized that I was writing a narrative that was part ghost book. As I entered my ancestors' world on Mott Street, their spirits began speaking to me, leaving a trail of breadcrumbs to the story, materializing as letters, notes, even a sealed chop bearing my Chin grandfather's name. My family is a noisy, bothersome bunch, bursting through the walls and hallways as I tried to doze, talking to me through the memories of old friends, eyes brimming with recollection like a teacup about to overflow, egging me on to continue. Write faster. What are you waiting for? Even daring to show up on the sofa like one great-grandmother, demanding to be heard. Part 1. 1970s to present. Chapter 1. The Elbow of Mott Street, Chinatown, New York City. As I walk past the restaurants, vegetable stands, and open-air shop fronts that line Mott Street, the main artery that pulses through the heart of Chinatown, the sights and smells here are as familiar to me as my grandparents' kitchen. Roast duck and slabs of salted pork, vast bins of varying grades of dried shiitakes, baby shrimp, flower teas wrapped in cellophane packages, plump dried oysters plucked from their shells and naked, but for some black bearding and a spray of salt, so provocatively laid out that it almost hurts to look at them. When I was a kid growing up in Flushing, Queens, before it became the new Chinatown, we used to come here nearly every week. Sometimes it was to see my grandmother Rosa's family, or to go shopping for roast pork or Chinese beef jerky, items difficult to make at home. It always involved good food. Giant, elaborate meals of long pan-fried egg noodles with sliced beef, chicken, pork, and verdant Gailon vegetables as long as my chopsticks. Lobster Cantonese with minced pork and lacy egg whites. A whole flounder steamed from head to tail, topped with a medley of ginger, scallions, and soy sauce, right before we devoured it down to the delicate skeleton when it was time to flip it over and start again. Chinatown was where my maternal grandfather, Gene Wong, went on his days off to visit friends, place horse racing bets at the local off-track betting office, and purchase in-season crabs or lobster. The smaller, younger female crustaceans were our favorite, tender, succulent, and if we were lucky, packed with rich, unctuous eggs. I didn't know on any of the innumerable weekend excursions we took here that a whole other side of my family, one that I'd never met, was just around the corner from our favorite Cantonese restaurant. They were there, even as we marveled at the tiny turtles or Mexican jumping beans, or sucked on sweet hawthorn berry candies or preserved plums from the Hong Kong sweet shops with a Japanese name, or tossed white gunpowder-filled pellets to make snapping noises against the pavement. If I had looked up, perhaps I would have seen them, residing right there in the elbow of Mott Street, 37 Mott Street, an apartment building that had been the epicenter of the Chinese community for almost 75 years. Built in 1915, after a fire destroyed a funeral parlor and a stable, the red brick building that locals called San Lao, or New Building, was considered the height of luxury when it rose from the ashes. The most prominent families of Chinatown flocked to live there, including members of both my maternal and paternal sides. There, they occupied the choicest apartments with views of the cross-section of Mott and Pell Streets. It's a bustling, three-pronged, panoramic view here at the intersection of Mott Street and Pell, and this is where our family story in New York begins. So many generations.